From Broken to Brilliant: How Black Women Are Weaponizing Adversity into Empire. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Ashley Brown, a visionary researcher whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand resilience and entrepreneurship in America. Ashley isn't just collecting data, she's documenting a revolution. Her groundbreaking research on Black women entrepreneurs has illuminated patterns that challenge everything we thought we knew about success, adversity, and innovation. In a world obsessed with privilege and advantage, Ashley has shown us that sometimes the most powerful innovations emerge from the places a society least expects, from those who have been systematically overlooked, underestimated, and excluded. Her courage in following the data where others wouldn't look has created a new framework for understanding how disadvantage can become advantage. She's not just changing research, she's changing lives. We've all heard the conventional wisdom about success and failure. When faced with adversity, the standard advice is straightforward: persevere, work harder, overcome the obstacle. But what if our understanding of adversity itself is fundamentally flawed? What if the very challenges we're taught to overcome are actually catalysts for innovation and transformation? Today, I want to challenge a deeply held assumption about success and failure. We tend to think that success comes from favorable circumstances, while setbacks are merely obstacles to be overcome. But what if the relationship between adversity and achievement is far more complex and far more interesting? Let me share something surprising that emerged from my conversation with Ashley Brown. Despite facing the most significant job losses of any demographic group in recent months, Black women are simultaneously leading an entrepreneurial renaissance in America. By 2024, nearly half of all new businesses were started by women, with Black women playing a central and transformative role in this surge. This duality challenges the narrative that adversity only leads to setbacks. Instead, it reveals how systemic barriers can fuel innovation and drive new forms of leadership. This isn't just counterintuitive, it's revolutionary. Think about it. The conventional wisdom would suggest that when a group experiences disproportionate job losses, entrepreneurship would decline. Financial insecurity typically leads to risk aversion, not risk taking. Yet here, we have compelling evidence of precisely the opposite pattern. In early 2025, data revealed that almost half, 49% of all new US businesses were started by women, with Black owned businesses more likely to be founded by women than men. This didn't happen despite challenging circumstances. It happened in part because of them. Let me be clear: I'm not romanticizing hardship or suggesting that systemic barriers are somehow beneficial. What I am suggesting is that our understanding of how people respond to adversity needs serious reconsideration. Consider what happened in April 2025 alone. Over 100,000 jobs held by Black women disappeared, the highest loss among any demographic group, even as national employment rose overall. The rollback on DEI policies, coupled with higher exposure during federal workforce reductions, disproportionately affected mid career professionals who had previously benefited from diversity hiring practices. The conventional response to such devastating job losses would be despair. Instead, something remarkable happened. Many of these displaced workers used severance pay or unemployment benefits as seed money for micro businesses. Others joined incubators targeting underrepresented founders. Within months, there was a notable uptick in solopreneur ventures ranging from consulting firms to online boutiques. This wasn't just about survival, it was about transformation. Take Jasmine Taylor, for example. Ashley's research followed Jasmine's journey from corporate layoff to thriving entrepreneur. After 15 years climbing the ladder in human resources, Jasmine's position was eliminated overnight. With three children to support and a mortgage to pay, panic would have been a reasonable response. But Jasmine did something unexpected. She launched a consulting firm specializing in creating inclusive workplace cultures, the very expertise her former employer had devalued. I realized, Jasmine told Ashley, that what looked like rejection was actually redirection. They didn't value what I brought to the table, but other companies would. Within a year, Jasmine was earning more than she had in her corporate role and employing three other women who had faced similar displacement. This pattern repeated across sectors. Black women weren't just surviving economic turbulence, they were reshaping the business landscape as entrepreneurs and innovators. But here's where the story gets even more interesting and where our conventional understanding of success and failure needs serious reconsideration. These entrepreneurs faced enormous challenges beyond the initial job losses. Black female founders encountered systemic barriers such as limited access to capital and industry networks. The funding landscape was particularly bleak. Despite making up nearly half of new entrepreneurs today, including in many high growth sectors, female only founding teams received just over $6 billion out of $286 billion invested last year. That's approximately 2.3%. For Black women specifically, the numbers were even more dismal. Yet again, adversity sparked innovation rather than defeat. Consider Maya Johnson, another entrepreneur in Ashley's research. When traditional venture capital firms repeatedly passed on her healthcare technology startup, Maya didn't abandon her vision. Instead, she created a crowdfunding campaign specifically targeting Black women healthcare professionals who immediately understood the problem her technology solved. She raised $750,000 in just 30 days, more than double her initial goal. The investors who turned me down couldn't see the opportunity, Maya explained, because they'd never experienced the problem I was solving. My community not only saw it, they lived it. The solutions were as creative as they were necessary. Many entrepreneurs leveraged digital platforms for marketing and e commerce while building peer support networks focused on mentorship. This led to increased visibility for their brands and greater representation across healthcare, social assistance, retail, and personal services sectors. What emerged wasn't just a collection of individual success stories, it was the development of vibrant local ecosystems supporting minority owned startups. Their successes inspired policy conversations around inclusive economic development nationwide. Now, I want to be absolutely clear about something. Recognizing the creative responses to adversity doesn't mean we should accept or perpetuate the conditions that create these barriers in the first place. The fact that Black women receive such a tiny fraction of venture capital funding isn't just unfair. It represents a massive failure of imagination on the part of investors and a tremendous loss of potential innovation for society as a whole. But there's something profound we can learn from how these entrepreneurs responded to adversity. They didn't just overcome obstacles, they fundamentally reimagined what success could look like. This brings me to what I believe is the core insight from Ashley Brown's research. Adversity doesn't just test us, it transforms us. It forces us to question assumptions, develop new capabilities, and envision possibilities we might never have considered under more favorable circumstances. The entrepreneurs in Ashley's research didn't succeed despite adversity. In many cases, the specific nature of their success, the businesses they created, the communities they built, the problems they solved, was directly shaped by the challenges they faced. This pattern extends far beyond entrepreneurship. Throughout history, some of the most significant innovations have emerged not from abundance, but from constraint. Necessity, as they say, is the mother of invention, but it's more than that. Adversity doesn't just make innovation necessary, it makes certain kinds of innovation possible. When we face significant challenges, we're forced to question assumptions that others take for granted. We develop capabilities that others never need to cultivate. We see opportunities that others overlook because they've never had to look for them. This isn't just true for individuals, it's true for communities, organizations, and entire societies. Some of the most remarkable innovations in human history have emerged from periods of great challenge and constraint. But here's the crucial point: this doesn't happen automatically. Adversity doesn't inevitably lead to innovation or transformation. It can just as easily lead to despair, resignation, or defeat. What makes the difference? Based on Ashley Brown's research, I believe there are three critical factors. First, mindset. The entrepreneurs who thrived didn't view adversity as simply an obstacle to overcome, but as an invitation to reimagine what was possible. They approached challenges with curiosity rather than resentment. Second, community. None of these entrepreneurs succeeded alone. They built networks of mutual support, shared knowledge, and pooled resources. Adversity became a catalyst for connection rather than isolation. Third, purpose. The most successful entrepreneurs were driven by something bigger than personal gain. They were solving problems they deeply understood, serving communities they cared about, and creating the opportunities they wished had been available to them. These three factors, mindset, community, and purpose, transformed adversity from a barrier to a bridge. They didn't just help entrepreneurs survive challenging circumstances, they helped them create something new and valuable precisely because of those circumstances. This has profound implications for how we think about success and failure, advantage and disadvantage. We tend to assume that the path to success is smoothest for those with the most advantages, the most resources, the most connections, the fewest obstacles. But what if that's not always true? What if certain kinds of success are only possible for those who have faced significant challenges? What if the very experiences we think of as disadvantages, being overlooked, underestimated, or excluded, can sometimes be the source of our greatest strengths? So here's my challenge to you today: stop seeing your setbacks as something to merely overcome. Start seeing them as potentially your greatest source of insight, innovation, and impact. The next time you face rejection, ask yourself, what do I see that they don't? What problem am I uniquely positioned to solve because of my experiences? What opportunity exists in this challenge that others might miss? And if you're in a position of power or privilege, ask yourself, whose perspectives am I missing? What innovations might emerge if I expanded my definition of what talent, expertise, and leadership look like? Because the truth is, we cannot solve tomorrow's problems with yesterday's thinking. And some of the most powerful thinking comes from those who have had to navigate the world differently, those who've had to find alternate routes because the main roads were closed to them. The entrepreneurs in Ashley Brown's research aren't just building businesses, they're building a new economic paradigm, one where adversity becomes advantage, where exclusion fuels innovation, and where the very experiences that might have broken them became the foundation upon which they built something brilliant. So I ask you, what will you build with your broken pieces? What innovation lies waiting in your adversity? What empire might you create from what was meant to destroy you? The world is waiting for your answer.